Hello! So you're curious about what each stat governs, and if you're stuck once you put a point into a stat, I will hopefully answer all your questions by the end of this video concerning Ark character stats. First things first, you are not stuck with your stat choices. You can use a mind wipe to reset stats and engrams. Now, I believe officials have a 24-hour wait period before you can mind wipe again, so just be aware of that when changing your stats. To make a mind wipe brew, you will need to use a cooking pot or industrial cooker. Cooking pots will require a container of water per brew, where an industrial cooker requires a tie into water pipes connected to a source of water. To make a mind wipe, you will need 72 narcotics, 72 stimulants, 24 cooked prime meat or mutton, 20 rare flowers, 20 rare mushrooms, and 200 mejo berries. Once I've gone over each stat, I will then give a brief detail of PvP rows and how you would want to stat for each row. The first stat up is health. Health governs how much damage you can take before dying. There is a point where your bones break and you run slower. Now on an island, if you want to survive a fall from skybox, you will need about 900 health. Stamina governs how long you can perform exerting activities such as swimming, sprinting, and melee attacks before getting tired. I've found that I do not really need more than 3 points into the stat. Oxygen governs how long a player can hold their breath underwater. This stat is only useful if you don't want to craft scuba. Most players should be high enough level to craft scuba in the first hour of playing. Almost all the resources you need to craft scuba can be found on the island in the northwest iceberg area. On Ragnarok, you can also find most things in the central west area. There is also a soup called Lazarus Chowder that helps you hold your breath longer. Food stats govern how long before you get hungry, and how much food will be needed to fill you up. For the most part, no points are needed in this stat. Early game it may seem useful, the more points in it, the more food you have to eat when you're hungry. Water stat governs how long until you need water. Early game, this stat can be useful since you can fill it up at a water source with just one drink, allowing you to stay away from water sources longer. For the most part though, this will be a wasted stat later. Weight governs how much you can carry before being encumbered. This stat is useful depending on what you're doing. With armor being heavier than it used to, just to carry a PvP kit, you will need at least 300 to 350 weight to avoid being encumbered. As far as moving resources around, this stat is mostly useless since resources are so heavy. Check out my Up Your Game video for more information on moving resources around. Melee damage. This stat is fun, but for actual rating is limited. The higher your melee, the more torpor you can apply with fists and clubs, and the more damage melee weapons, including the tech sword, do. If you're leveling melee for torpor reasons, keep in mind there is a diminishing return after 180%. The movement speed stat pretty much speaks for itself. This is how fast you move when you're walking and when you're sprinting. This stat is my favorite, though if you get near ledges, it can send you flying. 150 movement speed will let you outrun most dinos. The crafting skill stat lets you craft better items from blueprints, give higher stats to custom foods, and lets you craft anything faster. Crafting skill when applied to blueprints will make a better version than the blueprint itself would. This is how you get some pretty crazy stats on armor. With weapon crafting, there is a damage cap, right around 300, and if you go over the cap, the next server reset, or when you upload the item, the stats will drop back down to the cap. The fortitude stat governs how well you avoid torpor to a point. It will also allow you to avoid harmful effects from eating raw meat. On top of this, it allows you to deal with the heat and cold better, and your water and food drain slower. It sounds like a great stat, but a lot of gear can do the same thing, so it ends up being a wasted stat once you're established. Also, you need to put a lot of points into fortitude to really see much of a benefit. Until I'm established, I like to put 5 points, so 10 fortitude, just to get around the weird hot and cold pockets all over Ark, and to stay awake for one more hit from a Trudon. Okay, so now the PvP rows. First row I'm going to go over is the Dino Rider. This row rides Gigas, Soakers, Velons, Snow Owls, and just about any dino into battle with no plan to dismount. To be a Dino Rider, you will want to focus on mostly health with enough weight to carry a couple of sets of armor. The Sniper, a lot of players' favorite row. The Sniper needs to be able to survive a hit, needs to be able to move fast, and carry armor and ammo. The Sniper's points should be spread around a bit, at least 150 movement speed and 300 weight. Everything else can go into health. The Choke Point Bruiser. This person's row is to defend cave choke points while losing as little gear as possible. The Bruiser will be statted with high melee and health. 200 to 500 melee is usually used for this row. The higher the melee, the less points you have left for speed and health. You will need 250 to 300 weight. This row's job is to run out of the choke, punch or club the enemies to sleep, and drag them in as a prisoner. The bruiser can also run out with a sword or tech sword and one-shot players and quickly dispatch tames. Grappling to a dragon and then meleeing it with a sword will make short work of that dragon. This row is only good in specific situations. Next up we have the Encumberer. This row's job is to use grapples to overweight dinos or drag players. The focus of stats here is weight. 900 weight is minimum for this. Leftover points go into health. To make this work, you will need stone or wood in your inventory, putting you close to encumbered. You can then hit a dino with a grapple, adding your weight to its weight. This will encumber many dinos, and if it doesn't, then have another encumberer class help. This also allows you to drag players to you and avoid being grappled by enemy players unless they have just as much weight or more. Then there's the C4 Rocket Runner. This row runs up to turrets or bases and blows them up. To do this row, you need to have high speed. Since you're likely to die, you only need enough weight for one set of armor and a few explosives. This class needs a minimum of 180 movement speed. The higher, the better. This class benefits the most from ascending or for extra levels. This class will need between 250 to 300 hit points. The more you can get, the better, and at least 250 weight. Again, movement speed is key. Personally, on my C4 Rocket Runner, I have 350 hit points, 130 stamina, 210 movement speed. I had 300 weight, but I have ascended a few times, so I have the extra levels for that. But keep that in mind. You want your speed as high as possible to get past the turret tracking as quickly as possible. Then there's the Crafter row. This row puts all points into crafting. That should cover the majority of PvP rows and how to stat them. If you enjoyed the video, smash that like button. Have an awesome day.